Welcome to the J and K show. So I am excited. Rarely am I excited, but today I am for the guest that we have today. And so this show is for everyone, but in particular, this one is for the men. So guys, have you ever wondered what to say, what to do when when you meet a beautiful woman? Well, I've got John Keegan. Sorry, Doc, run that back. I've
All right.
never done that before, John.
Yeah, it's okay. Well,
Even
good.
talking about beautiful
Yeah,
women kind
yeah,
of makes
yeah. You got it's a little like subconscious thing there. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
just
kind of funny
keep
actually.
Yeah.
going. You can start over. We'll
Yeah.
just edit and post.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
All right.
Welcome to the J and K show. We've got a special guest today, John Keegan. This show is for men and women, but today is a special show for the men. Guys, have you ever saw a beautiful woman and didn't know how to approach, what to say or what to do? Well, we've got a subject matter expert here today that's going to unpack all of it and give you some cheat codes on what to do. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I was so glad when you guys reached out. I'm excited to be here and unveil anything that I can.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So for anyone that's been living under a rock and or who's an idiot doesn't follow your content, why don't you
Well,
take a
that's
moment out and tell folks who you are and what you are?
yeah. Hey, I'm a dating coach. I've been a dating coach for 17 years. It's just one of those things that happens strangely, but it happened and it took a life of its own. And I've literally coached for many years. I coached men and women, but I would say predominantly I coach men. That just became the focus. And I traveled the world coaching. I'm based in New York. That's where I do most of my coaching, but I've done workshops all through Europe, South America, and even in Asia. So I've got a lot of experience, So when you say, "How does this guy know?" Well, I just, from doing it all those years, literally the same thing, in and out, and all the questions that could be come up about dating, relationships, they've come to me, and had to find a solution for people, whether it be one of the most common is how do I approach a beautiful woman? I feel anxious about it, or how do I not be boring during a conversation, or
Right.
how do I not end up in the friend zone, or how do I get past date two or three? There's these, especially this beginning, courtship areas where I really is my expertise more than anything.
Yeah, and that's great, and hopefully get an opportunity to touch on all of that. But I want to talk about the biggest thing that just jumps out at me to anyone anyone that follows you on Instagram is so I could walk the streets of New York City for months and not see some of the women that you interview. Yet your page is filled with beautiful women. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
what is John doing? Hanging outside of Wilhelmina modeling agency, or what
Yeah.
is that? What? How does that happen?
Well, you know what? Sometimes I do walk around, because what became the algorithm kind of told me, hey, I was doing a little bit more like of a Humans of New York style and just talking to interesting people and women and getting different perspectives. But the algorithm was like, no views, no views. And then and it's not always that a very attractive woman gets a lot of views either, but it's definitely that in combination with some other forces I'm not always sure on.
Right.
But that just started to kind of direct me, and then so sometimes I do walk around for many hours until I run into that girl and hope that I'm still in a good mood, hope that I have, because when you walk around a long time thinking, oh, where's the person, and then somehow you might just not be ready. But generally I also walk around Soho, New York, the West Village. That area is really just packed with young, beautiful people. So it's a good shot that I'll meet somebody like that on any given day.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's my first problem. I was usually kind of in the Murray Hill, Gramercy Park area, so I should have went further
Yeah.
downtown. So
Yeah.
I, I
You get a whole other thing there. It's
yeah,
unbelievable. It's like, you don't, once you
absolutely.
cross like a certain street, you're like in a different planet. You realize you're just living in a very small thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So watching your videos, one of the things I notice is you typically start with a compliment. You compliment them on their looks. Now, this flies in the face of what I think many men already believe, which is beautiful women are constantly told how beautiful they are. Therefore,
Mm.
we're told to come up with something clever, something different to get their attention. Yet you seem to do the old traditional way by telling beautiful women that they're beautiful and you compliment them with that. And and it seems to be working out well. Is that consistent or is there footage there that we just don't see and you're striking out more than you hit?
Well, no, I would say in general, that's, back when I started coaching, we're going all the way back to 2007. That was a very popular idea. Like, don't compliment her, don't say anything. And really, it just goes back to being authentic. It's like
Mm,
saying what
okay.
you see, saying what you feel in that moment. That's really what I'm great at. I just notice and add something that the right adjective to say about that person in that moment. And when you're talking about that person in that moment, then it hits. If you're
I see.
running around with a line like, "Oh, I saw you. You're the hottest girl I ever saw," or "You're so beautiful," if you're just running around with that line, it will get stale. So,
I
maybe
see.
it'll work once in a while. But if I saw you sitting here with your glasses on and what kind of shirt would you call that? What is that you're wearing? Was that like a
Like a quarter zip sweater kind of.
yeah, with your quarter zip sweater and you got the good smile. I just had to say hi. You see, that's in the now. If I just said, "Sir, you're very dapper," that would be nice too, because it's a guy to guy. But if it was like to a woman, and it was a line I use all the time, it'll fall flat. And after a while, stop working because I'm not actually present. I'm not actually in the moment. There's
Right.
something about being super present in the moment, and then you pull them into it. And when I give a compliment, I don't expect anything in return. I'm not necessarily trying to pick her up or anything. Let me
Okay.
just give something, see how she receives it, and then I'll go from there. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of my thought. You know,
If I swear, I know we're talking about women and dating and so on, but it feels like you could almost do a sales seminar, a TED talk on the sales approach. It feels like it has some of those elements. So interesting, right? That
yeah,
it's
yeah.
probably something that could cross over into other walks of life.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I would say most people that work with me, it feeds into that. What they learn from me feeds into whether they're a doctor, how they interact with the other hospital people or their patients, and then they'll all of a sudden become because you're working on being present, situational awareness, being really aware, which a lot of people are just in their head
Right.
analyzing data, or just avoiding what's happening. And then you're
Sure.
also working on really like learning to let go and express yourself without the need for the desperate need to be approved of all the time. You want to do good, but you don't need them to say, "Oh," if you don't need them to look back at you and say, "Oh, you're so good, you're so great." It's nice, it feels good. If you're
Right.
getting that a lot, you're doing something right, but you don't desperately need it. And that's the most people's problem is that simple need for the good opinion of other people or, to be approved of.
Yeah. You interviewed, I would imagine, hundreds of women. Is there anything that you've learned or something that someone said that really kind of, say, shocked you or really kind of made you step back a little bit, either big or small? And so before you answer, one of the things I saw, and this looks like it was even more recent, was you were interviewing someone and she commented on your socks.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're pulling up the
Yeah.
socks,
Yeah.
and the socks have to be up high, but not too high.
Yeah.
And then you said, "Hey, how about mine?" And you had the ankle socks, which I own, right? And she's like,
Yeah.
"No, no, absolutely not." So, uh, so that's one of the things. But for you, is there anything that kind of jumps out at you, where they kind of pointed out, you're like, "Wow, I never saw that one coming."
Well, that question, was kind of like almost like a neurotic fun thing, but did, it is, maybe it's even generational. I always thought it looked good with no socks. If you're walking around, your big socks
Right,
are up. It was something that you would say, "Oh, old men do that. They wear it to their knees." But I started to recognize that this was maybe I was starting to look like a guy with smelly feet or because it was shifted. So that I just was one of those random questions I threw out there, and
right,
it hit so hard with that one. That girl's response was so funny that
right.
it hits and it hits so hard. But so it's kind of like a Seinfeld or a Larry David
Yeah.
thought.
Well, I love how
Yeah,
you took
yeah,
it too. I mean, you just
yeah.
stayed in that moment, and which is probably not an easy thing to do. I would imagine most people, when kind of getting point when something's pointed. point it out to them, they recoil a little bit. But no, you stayed in the moment, stayed in character, chin up, chest out, and continued with it,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think, well, I always think a little self-deprecating humor is fun, especially when you like yourself. So, yeah, so I was cool with it, and I think there's something funny about, something engaging about, her, it just happened the way it is. But
Right.
I guess the way that I responded is just kind of how I think, yeah.
Yeah. So going back to the original question, is there anything that kind of jumps out beyond the beyond sock gate, where something may have
Yeah.
really.
Something a lot of guys, something just a lot of guys put a lot of energy into and a lot of stress and a lot of emotion is texting, and,
Okay.
so, I mean, I don't know if you're single, if you were, and you had to meet a girl and you met a girl you like, and then you start asking one guy and another guy, you ask seven guys what to text her, and then they maybe come up with some giant story or something. And so I really learned that most women just prefer a guy to come in just like I almost do on the street. Something small, something subtle, let her reciprocate. Hey, so fun, even as boring as this. Hey, so fun meeting you, and add a little color. Hope your dog made it home safe from the park today, or so fun meeting you. Hope your meditation was all you hoped it would be, whatever, like your little conversation nugget you had, and just leave it, John, and let her respond. That is something that woman after woman after woman has said to me, just keep it simple. If I like you, I'll respond. So, although there's obviously an element of women who say, I want a guy to work. I want him to try twice, and
Mm.
they're usually very, very, these are women, if you look at them, would be like the guys with yachts are chasing them around and saying,
Sure.
I'll fly you here. So those specific women might want you to try twice. But generally, a woman, if a woman doesn't respond to a simple text message, she's not interested. Don't even bother. So
Got
I
it.
think so. It wasn't one specific thing. That was just a pattern across many women. There was, and there was only those very like objectively, aesthetically elite women that desired women that would say try twice.
Got
Yeah.
it. And how many of those are you going to see in a lifetime too, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe. Do
You could
you
get their number, but they probably won't respond,
there
Yeah.
you
So
go.
yeah.
Is there a and you mentioned getting numbers. Is it by today's standards? Do you ask for numbers? Do you ask for their Instagram? Is that generational? What's the perfect approach or the best approach, I should say, for that?
Yeah. What I would say is, let's say, it depends, like, if you're traveling, right? If you're out of the country,
Mm,
Instagram can be fine. It's a good way to meet people on the fly. Instagram's good. But let's say you're in the place you live and you're meeting a girl in the place you live, like New York, right? There, it's a much stronger choice to say something like you basically how you set up a date. You have a conversation, whatever it was. It could have started with, hey, in the supermarket, what's your favorite cereal or whatever. I could have started there and ended up like you're having a conversation. And then you're saying, I want to ask this girl out. You would just say something like, why you like her. My formula is two internal validations, one external, so that it's not like, hey, you have nice hair and breasts. Let's hang out sometime. You want to be like, hey, you're really cool to talk to, and you're fun, and you have a beautiful smile. Uh, I want to take you out, or let's hang
interesting.
out again sometime. And you literally, like Billy the Kid, you don't wait for her to look at you and see if you're confident or not. You just hand her the phone and you open it up.
Right.
Give me the number, and the number is the stronger choice because then she knows you're serious. She's whereas if you follow a girl on Instagram that's attractive, you're just going to fall into a sea of nothingness. She might, even if she thought you were cute in that moment, she won't even see it. She won't even
Right.
see the message. Unless you're like a movie star, and she's going to be like, didn't Brad Pitt text me? Didn't he?
Right.
Other than
Right.
that, forget about it. So, but if you do an Instagram exchange, the secret is tell her to follow you first. and then you follow her back. This way,
Oh, okay.
you get your message.
That
That's
way
a
you
simple.
also know. Got it.
Yeah,
And-
she gets the message then, because
right.
she's following.
Got
Yeah,
it. Makes it. Well, I didn't even,
yeah,
never really thought of it that way.
yeah.
Also, one of the things that I've been or heard, I don't know if necessarily been told, but I've heard that men overly estimate how busy beautiful women are. Like, in other words, we believe that they're inundated with date offers and people are always approaching them and trying to take them out. But sometimes we hear from these women and they're saying, no, that's not my life, right? One, do you find that to be to be so? And if so, why is that?
Well, there's a there's a difference between a guy who's catcalling, which is, not us. It's just
Right,
some guy who's probably not doing very good in life and no one likes him, including his own family. It's like but that happens in a place like New York, probably
right,
to a hot girl every day, maybe, or
right.
once a week, right? So guys confuse that with a guy like you and me approaching a beautiful woman and being sincere. Women don't get that much because men have really, it's like, they say public speaking is the number one fear. Well, you could throw
Sure.
approach anxiety above it, I think. Most men are scared to approach a random beautiful woman, but not just approach her. It's happening in real time. You're walking down the street, she's walking to you, or she's in line at the coffee shop right behind you, or sitting next to you. You have to be in the present. You have to do that. Most guys maybe will try it a few times in their life and hopefully get a lucky swipe on Tinder or something, but so it doesn't really happen. And if it does happen, it's not necessarily the guy she might think the guy's nice. She might have a nice conversation, but it's not necessarily the guy she wants to date, which in your mind is you. She has to date somebody. So the point is, most guys don't do it right. Or
Uh,
they'll approach and they'll walk away too soon. They lose their nerve. Okay, she was nice. I'm going to get out of here. I gave the compliment or I started the conversation. She's very nice. Let's leave it at that. I don't want to be a creepy guy. I'm going to get out of here. So that's like a general male thought. And so a lot of guys don't get all the way to asking her out and setting up the date.
so,
And
right.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I like that, but are you saying they don't go further because they bail? Like they get the good response from the compliment, and they're meaning men look at that as mission accomplished, and then they bail without continuing it because that's kind of
Yeah.
a way of opening the door a little bit, right? And we're saying, hey, we're worked up enough nerve to say hello. She responds to it, and then it's kind of like, well, what do I say now? It's kind of like, well, if the dog caught the car, right? He's chasing the car stopped. Now the dog doesn't know what to do with it. So is it similar to? Is that what you're kind of alluding to?
Yeah, yeah. It's basically like, and I can say as a coach, a guy who's like a hitch in field, and I'm with the guy. A guy will walk over, he'll give the compliment. He's not you. He's basically told himself his whole life that women don't want to be talked to or they're going to be mean. There's like an exaggerated like idea that, and the truth is 999 out of 1,000 women aren't going to be mean. They might not be interested. They might be flat, some of them, but most people are pretty nice if you approach them properly. So even
Right,
if you approach and she knows even before you get near her, she's not dating you. That doesn't mean she won't be nice and reciprocative, right? But a lot of guys, then when they do it and a woman's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much," they're like, "Okay," and they say something, and then the thought is okay, like they didn't realize this that works, and B, the simple idea that I just told you what I think works, and then they're just not used to being in that situation, so they think, hey, let's leave it here. This is nice, a nice thing. She likes me, she's being nice. She's a nice person,
right,
and they'll just say, oh, she was just being nice. So what I'll have to do sometimes in a situation like that is I'll say, hey, I know I've seen this pattern hundreds of zillions of times. I know that she was open for more. That doesn't mean she loves you or is going to fall in love, but she was
right.
open to a conversation. She was open to more, to you, to your energy, to whatever you did. She received
Sure.
it and she was open. So then I'll make them go back. And then I'll say, John, please don't make me go back. Let's do the next one. I'll do anything you say, but just don't make me go back. I said, just go back. I know, trust me. And then he goes back, and then she's nice again. Okay. And then he stays in it. They get to know each other. And now it's time to ask her out. And he says, okay, I'll see you around. And he leaves. Right. And then
Oh,
yeah. And then I'll say, listen, you paid me good money because you trust my opinion. Right. And then I say, you can go back 3 times. Just like this is a daytime situation, but in a nightclub you would easily do that. Guys do that who are good at it. They talk to a girl, they roll away, they show back up, they come back later. So it's like if you do it right, there's some technique to this, guys. It's
sure.
not just you don't want to you have to be an aware person. So I'm telling you that she's giving green lights, and he's walking away. So I say one more time, go back and do it. And then, of course, there's a lot of resistance. It's like a general in the field of fear. I'm just dealing with it. I'm not even talking to the guy anymore. I'm talking to this demon fear. I'm like, all right,
Right.
I gotta wake you up and get you to come out. Yeah. So, and then I get him to go back 3 times, and he gets a number now, and he asks her out on a date. He doesn't just collect a number, right? And if done, believe it or not, if done right, the girl didn't even think that much of it. She doesn't think, oh, she just thinks, oh, he was walking around the bookstore, came back again, or he had an afterthought or whatever. If she's interested, now that doesn't mean he's getting a date or anything, but it can mean that, and it has meant that. But what it really means for him is that he went through his this uncomfortableness multiple times, and no one shot him, no one killed him. She
Right.
thought it was fun because generally, you're a good, anybody I work is a good person, and they're just trying to do something. They're just trying to make a connection. So you're bringing that energy, and so anyway, that's my point. Which is he got they get you can do things you didn't believe were true, and the only way you can find that out is if you go out and do it.
Sure.
Practice it as a
Yeah, no,
practice.
that's great. So I think I may have picked up on something. So the sounded like the service, and I'll use that for lack of a better term, the service that you provide for your clients, in my mind, pictures you out with them and then seeing a woman and then you turning to him and say, sick 'em tiger. And he goes over with all of the things that you've worked on and coached them on and puts it into real life action. Is that
Yes.
wow.
Yeah, not it's not every time that, but that's quite a lot what I'm doing with them. Yeah. And I'm teaching them what we talked about at the beginning of this, which is how to be a great observer, how to be really present, how to be in the moment, also I'm helping them relax, but how to see what's happening and how to read what you're seeing. So how to capitalize on that moment. She's she's got 2 drinks and 2 coffees, 24-ounce coffees in her hand, and you're like, if you just walk over and you say, "Hey, you're so beautiful," I just said that to 60 other girls. She's like, "Okay, whatever." But if you walk over and you say, "Hey, you're double fisting. I like it. That's a woman after my own heart," or whatever,
Right,
or it's one of those for me, LOL. But then usually if there's 2 cops, it's for some dude behind.
right,
So you do
right.
have to be aware of that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I love the idea of working, putting things in real time, kind of developing good techniques and styles. I know my audience is going to ask this if I don't. Do you use this in your own personal life?
Yeah, I mean, I've literally met 99% of women I've dated this way. So it's not just on the street or in a cafe or in a park, but it's also sitting next to someone on a train or going
Mm,
to an event, because once it's not just how I do it. What happens every time you walk up, you step up onto this uncomfortable moment and you transcend it and you continue to go, you become more charismatic. Your channels turn on. You become
right,
a bigger version of yourself. And then wherever you're at, you could just be at a small house party and a beautiful woman walks in. You're no longer the guy who didn't take that risk all the time. We kept going that way. You're no longer that small guy. You're bigger and you're comfortable talking about yourself, connecting in your conversation skills. So even if a guy gets a match online, when he shows up to the date and having done this kind of work, he's a million times more charismatic, and he
right.
has a process, a system for connecting with women that's
Cool.
authentic, and is going to lead not just to getting a date, but lead to a connection. Is what we want to make
Sure.
connection. And
Yeah.
for me,
Do,
yes,
do
I've
you?
met the women I date that way and been in relationships with.
Very nice. Very nice. It's
Yeah,
not only the president, I'm a member. I like that.
yeah. And I am bald. I am also bald. Yeah. So yeah.
From a
Uh,
client standpoint, so this is great. So we're looking from the client out to these women, and you're kind of developing skills. Have you ever had to have the conversation with your client beforehand, and kind of this maybe difficult conversation, either, hey, here's some things you need to start with first within you, right? Like shave,
yeah,
shower, change your clothes,
yeah.
get different, that kind of thing. And then the other part of that is, have you ever been out with them when it's that kind of client and he zeroes in on blank? Do you ever have to recalibrate his expectations? This guy is a 4 on a man's scale and she's a 9 on a woman's scale. Do you ever tell him to recalibrate or have at it?
Well, all of the things you're saying. So number one, I start with inner game, right? So there's grooming, of course, that's got a huge part, grooming and style. But inner game is the biggest thing, which is this inner journey of letting go of false beliefs or negative beliefs about myself, about me. I'm not good enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm
Mm,
not this. And then about being social and flirting. Oh, that women don't want to be flirted. That kind of guy's a creep, or whatever that is, right? And then any negative thoughts they might just have about women in relationships. You want to kind of clear the debris. So I'll work with them on that,
interesting.
you
Interesting.
know. And I have six mantras. I'll just list them off without delving
Please.
into them. But there's six mantras of the social man. Okay. So my instincts are good. So step one is into your instinct, get in tune with your instincts, trust your instincts. Most of us are living in our analytical mind, and most of the people that come to work with me are definitely living in their analytical mind. Tech guys, finance guys, even actors sometimes. They're just even you think, oh, it's an actor, but he's so analytical that just he can turn it on for the play or for that, but he hasn't in this realm. So it's learning to be trust your instinct over your analytical mind. Trust that this eons and eons of evolution is smarter than your puny little brain. That's kind of get them into this mindset to feel. And a lot of times, people have been pushed down. Don't do that. Don't do this. And they had some shame around it. And it's like, hey,
Mm,
I want you to trust in what we're doing with our instinct is where look, we're it's our instinct to love, it's our instinct to
right.
connection, it's our instinct to physical attraction and desire. It's just like to follow it, just follow it, and then it goes into, so once you trust that, then it's like, okay, my intentions are good. I'm not here
Okay.
to take. I'm not here to bother. I'm not here to be creepy. I'm here to give. I'm here to give a compliment or a simple moment. I'm here to bring the possibility that two people might make a connection today, that there might be something really big might happen when two people meet. Uh, I'm here to share in that experience. Mantra number
Right.
three, I'm not for everyone, and I'm okay with that. And this is a big deal. Okay, my instincts are good.
Okay.
I mean well. That doesn't mean that she has to receive me. She doesn't have to like me, and that's okay. It ain't fun when someone like gives you a bad vibe or doesn't like you
Sure.
back. But I'm okay with me. I like being me. I'm following my instinct. I'm mean to do well, and I'm not for everyone, and I'm okay with that. And that's just like letting
Mm,
go of the need to be approved of, letting go of the need for an outcome. Playing music for music's sake, not playing music just because I have to get to Carnegie Hall. Like it feels good to be able to play a song and sing, and
right.
even doing it poorly. And it's the same thing here. I'm being social and flirting for flirting's sake, and
Right.
that's it. And obviously, the more I practice, the better I'll be,
Right.
and the more connections I'll make. Mantra number four. Wait, what is mantra? All right, mantra number four is I've got a job to do, man. I like to say it like a tough guy working in a factory. It's like I have a job to do. It's my job to take all the risks, from hello to will you marry me, from hello to setting up the date, from hello to putting my hand on her hand and beginning the physical relationship. It's my job to take those risks. It's not her job. And it's like
Right.
letting, somebody say, oh yeah, but shouldn't it be? Well, you could say what you want, but this is what it is. The reality is, in general, there's some relationships that it could be the opposite, maybe a small percentage, but it's he initiates, she reciprocates. And
Okay.
you have to be a great listener to, you have to listen to what's happening. So if I give someone a compliment and they say, hey, no thanks, she didn't reciprocate. If I give someone a compliment and she says, oh my God, thank you, she received it. That allows me to say, anyway, my name's John. Let's talk. Right. And then at one point she could say, hey, I have to go and leave. And now she's not reciprocating. If we go out on a date and I'm expecting the woman to start kissing me, it's not going to happen unless, like I said, a very small percent of the time. So I might start and I might just take her hand while we're having a drink and put her hand in my hand and see if she's interested.
Right.
And if she goes like this, which happened to me before, and then it turned out to be my girlfriend, I don't take it personal. I don't take it personal. I played my move. She did that. Turned out later she had sweaty palms and she was nervous like me.
Oh, okay.
Uh, and then it's not personal, flirting, being social, being a man and her being a woman, or, whatever you're into, if you being attracted to another person, it's not personal. It's as personal as the sun rising and setting, or birds and bees. It's literally birds and bees. It has nothing to do with you. You just happen to be born into this.
Right.
And you're just aligning with nature. I'm attracted to that person. I want to talk to that person. So don't take it personal that you have to flirt with her. Like that's so, because it is, the scene is personal. The boy, there we are. She's reacting. That's a personal scene, but the actual act of flirting or courtship has nothing to do with us. Just like, flying has really, not anything personal to a bird.
Right.
'Cause it is. Yeah. And then
Yeah,
one
that's it.
last one. One
Oh, yeah,
last one.
please.
Yeah. Uh, it's the most important job in the world. It's the job of the connector. I'm here to potentially bring a great connection, from a fun moment to maybe even a profound moment to a conversation that changes something for them or me, or a girlfriend, a boyfriend, husband, wife, babies. I'm here to bring that possibility. So when you look at it as a deep thing, instead of I'm trying to get laid, I'm trying to get my noodle wet, or whatever people say, it's like then it changes how important it is, because it is like a battlefield of fear and resistance that people have to overcome. So it's nice to have that inner game, and those six mantras repeated often, so that they have
Right.
it's just you against you out there in the world. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that you broke this down to six principles, these kind of pillars, if you will.
yeah,
I think it's great if you haven't copywritten. I think that you should. One of the things I want to point out, though, that you brought up, I think it was the first one, and that was kind of, in my words, relearning what we already know, or something that he may feel about himself, right? Um, and so I want to unpack that a little bit, because I've often felt that that was a superpower of men, or at least the community of men. So, and what I mean by that is John and I are buds, and we've got Doc, and so we're together, and because we're buds, we kind of rank on each other, but there's seriousness in jest, and we may point things out playfully, but it's also serious, and so we kind of know where we fit in socially in that pecking
mm,
order, right? If
right,
if I were a short, fat guy, my nickname, John would probably call me Chubby or something like that, right?
right,
Or,
right. Yeah,
and so
yeah,
we kind of know where that is. We we then go into the world, the dating world, knowing I'm a short, chubby guy, right?
mm,
And so that kind of calibrates the woman that I may approach. Now, I know beautiful when I see it, but I'm not necessarily going to approach it because I have the reality bites, and I know where I am. We conversely criticize, I feel like we've criticized women on the other side because they don't have that truth gene. They'd say, hey,
Mm,
have them accept them however you are. You're beautiful. They tell each other they're beautiful no matter what. If he
right.
doesn't
Yeah.
accept you how you are, forget him. And I've always, we've kind of felt like that is a disservice to women. So it's
Mm,
interesting that it sounds like, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like what one of your principles kind of leans towards where kind of the way the women approach it, which is no matter what your circumstance, no matter what it is, you're great. Forget about what you heard, what you've learned about yourself. Go for that 10. You're a 4, but go for a 10. Did I catch that correct?
yeah. Well, yeah. And then also, there is like, especially when you live in, well, having style, fashion sense really makes a difference. A four can bump it to a seven. I had a guy who was quite handsome, worked out every day, but he was definitely, let's say, socially backwards. He was a tech guy who, whatever, just was, brilliant at that, doing lots of money at that. But socially, I mean, it was one of my worst cases. But he looked like a male model, and I would say, hey, look, I was teaching him these some of these things, going out, meeting people, and he would wave at women, and none of them would look at him. And I kept saying, dude, you gotta change your clothes. I have a stylist. You have to do the stylist. You have to do it. He kept resisting me. He kept saying, no, no, no. Why would I need that? And finally, it was like I think I had to, smuggle him in a van and force him to wear these clothes, and then try it. And then all of a sudden, they started responding to him. Right. Now he still had a lot of social stuff, but they started smiling, lighting up, responding,
Mm,
because you can, being in tune, in style makes you more attractive.
right.
Being charismatic makes you more attractive. Being funny makes you attractive. Being having a perfect bone structure and being stiff as a board doesn't makes you less attractive. So it's like, hey, that guy looks good, and even in women, I've met beautiful women, and they're just so literal that it's like I'm not no longer attracted, even though
Yeah.
I know that I'm looking at something beautiful. It's just no chemistry because they're so stiff, or that's just how they are. So the point is uh yes, if a guy's like, comes up and he's like, look at a girl in Soho who's a fashion model, and traveling around the world doing that, and he's 5 feet tall, eating Subway sandwiches all day, has a stain on his shirt, and it's like, I want to approach her. Then you got to have a talk. You're out of tune with reality. You can go give her a compliment. You're allowed to say hi. She'll
Right.
probably be nice. But you want to calibrate their expectations. And usually when people have that, I know when I first started coaching, there was a guy who was like, I want to have threesomes and foursomes. And I was like, and I was like, have you approached anyone? Or he was a young guy, and and it was a guy who had a big imagination but had no experience. Once he started talking to women, then he was looking at the billboard, but ultimately he started, dating a woman that's more his size, where he was at that time. The world kind of gives that back to you. But that's not to say you have to be some great looking dude, like,
Right.
like on GQ. Style, charisma, and taking a risk go further than all of that, especially
Style,
as women
style,
get older.
charisma, taking,
Yeah.
right. Style, charisma, and taking a risk. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Some little nuggets. I think that was a hot take, man. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. And
what,
charisma is
what,
developed from hardship, from going through it, from taking
right.
those risks over and over. Yeah.
I think that's awesome. So having interviewed so many women, is there a commonality or a common thread that flows through all of these women, regardless of geography or cultural background?
Mm.
Are there these mainstays that they look for in men?
Yeah, I made a business out of teaching guys how to meet people. But what I always say, hey, women want to be met, but I never really, and all the women I dated were open to it. Obviously, I dated them, but I never really knew what women really thought. So
Mm,
I went out and I started asking them, and and they across the board. I would say 99, let's say 97% said, I want to meet a guy in real life. I want to meet a guy. I want it just to happen. They really want a synchronicity. They really want that. And that's the thing that guys are afraid of. They also like to meet, women also like to meet in social circles and things like that. But very beautiful women, like the women on my page, almost unanimously said, I want to meet a guy like it just happening. Just me walking down the street,
Oh, really?
just me. And all of a sudden he comes in, me in a bookstore, me. They want that experience. And I can just prove, like, do the Socratic method, go out and gather the data. And I have, yeah, women date the men that they meet out and about. Now, what's different than when I started coaching is they have all this distraction with the online swipes. They have so many in the Instagram. They're putting, naked pictures of themselves online. Guys are sliding in. They have a lot of noise coming at them all the time.
Right.
But if you do it right and you come in and you make that connection in person, it supersedes all that. You cut the
Interesting.
noise. Yeah, but you have to be, you have to come in like a sharpshooter, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I got one last question. But before I ask that, I'm going to ask you for our audience, what's the kind of couple of takeaways or the one major takeaway that's something that we haven't touched on that really want to kind of convey this out to our audience and say, hey, this is the environment, and it can be about the environment, the state of dating or culture or what have you. What's the one big takeaway, the one big thing?
Every single person, man and woman, they want the same thing. They really want to make connections. They want to feel connected to themselves, to their environment, and to the people in it. They want to meet people like you. They
Hmm.
want to make connections. We're wired, we're the social animal. We're wired for that. And so she isn't so strange or he isn't so strange. At its core, what women want, what men want. They just want to connect, and it's just really a matter of how you're going to do that. But knowing that at the core, that when you're the person, and you take a risk to open yourself up, that someone might think I'm a fool, whether it's a woman really giving a guy strong eye contact or not, or that's a risk. Like, look, I'm open to you. Will he reciprocate? Does it feels like rejection if he doesn't, so I won't do it. But when she does do it, when she does look at him with strong eye contact and gives him that, she's taking that risk. When a guy goes over and says hello, he's taking that risk. He might look like a fool. So, might think I'm up to something bad, all the thoughts. But that risk is really for this one thing. Every single person wants to feel connected to themselves, and
Right.
they want to connect to other people. That's what they want, and they want to fall in love, and they want to have orgasms, and they want to have amazing experiences with other people. And that's what we're here to do in a way. The world becomes more when two people come together. Usually.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think as my last question, I think you answered it. And it really is what, uh, those must do, a couple of must do's, I call them, that a man should do to increase his chances of closing the deal. But I think you've touched on that in that last, especially within that last statement. So I'll ask this. If someone wants to hire you to be a client of yours to help them close the deal, where should they go? How do they find you?
Yeah, all social media, Instagram, YouTube, X, what's the other one? TikTok, uh, John Keegan Lifestyle, at John Keegan Lifestyle, or just my website is The Awakened Lifestyle. You can just go on there if you want to make a free consultation call. It's very simple.
Awesome. John, I started off by saying, and I'll say it again, thank you, thank you, thank you for carving out a few minutes with us. This has been incredibly enlightening for me. Listen, I thought I did okay, you know what I mean? Approaching
Yeah,
and
yeah.
dating and so on. But you've helped me to realize, man, that there's a lot that I don't know. You may have absolutely improved my closing average. So for that, I thank you,
Uh,
friend.
Perfect. Excellent. Let me know how it goes, Yeah.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed, I will. Well, thanks for joining the J and K show. Appreciate it. And you're always welcome back, and we'll talk with you soon. Appreciate it.
I would love to. Thanks so much for having me. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Thanks for watching the J&K Show.